Hi, we're gonna do some stretches here, which are really, really good for runners, but really good for anybody. And we're gonna use the good old trusty wall. We all have one of these. So you're just gonna wanna find a nice empty spot on your wall. If you don't have carpet wherever you're gonna be, you might wanna have some type of a mat or a blanket underneath you just to make it a little bit softer. But the first pose that we're gonna do is legs up the wall. So you're gonna wanna get your hips as close to the wall as you can. And then you're just gonna kind of lay down and just bring the legs up the wall, making sure you shouldn't have any space in the lower back, no arch there. The back of your hip should be fully rested on the floor. You can play around with how far away you are from the wall. If you've got your legs up there and you're not feeling anything, you might take a peek. Maybe you can even make yourself get just a little bit closer. You can kind of rock your hips to get a little bit closer. And then you're just going to relax and hang out there for as long as you want. You can absolutely play some music. You can play on your phone, but this is just a nice, good stretch for the hamstrings and the whole backs of the legs, which we runners all have very tight hamstrings. So this is a great one to do. So hold that one for as long as you want. The next one I like to do is butterfly, again using the wall. So you've got your hips all the way up to the wall, and then you're just going to bring your feet down, and you can play around with what feels good to you. And then you can take your hands and don't push hard, but maybe gently encourage the legs to just kind of come out just a little bit more. And again, you can hang out here for as long as you want. I like to for at least a couple of minutes. It's a nice stretch for the inner thighs. So this one's just really nice. So do that one for as long as you want. And then the next one that I like to do is it's actually a pigeon, but just a little bit different variation using the wall. So you'll want to kind of back up just a little bit. You want your leg at about a 90-degree angle, something like that. You can play around with the distance, but you're just going to take one foot supporting on the wall. You're just going to take the ankle on that knee, and again, kind of gently encourage the knee to go out just a little bit. Really nice hip opener on that top leg here. So again, you can hold it as long as you want. I recommend 30 seconds to probably not more than a couple minutes. Really isn't necessary, but what you do on one side, you need to also remember to do on the other side. Remember that each side of our body feels different, so you might have a little bit more sensation in one side versus the other. So again, hold that as long as is comfortable for you. And the last stretch that I have for you today is a nice hip flexor stretch. So again, you're going to want to play around with how far away from the wall you are. And if you do not have carpet underneath you, you for sure want a pillow or something underneath your knee. You might even want a pillow, even if you do have carpet. But you're just going to want to take the front of the foot and just kind of support it there on the wall. And depending on how close your knee is to the wall, that makes it more intense. So if your hip flexors aren't super tight, maybe you can get that knee all the way back to the wall. I have very tight hip flexors, so that does not happen for me. I'm going to use this rail here on my stairs. It just makes it a little bit easier for me. And I'm just going to take that other knee up and put my foot on the floor, sitting up nice and tall. Kind of think about, instead of letting yourself come forward, think about really, kind of rotating the hips down a little bit. And this is a nice deep stretch in that hip flexor. Holding that for a minute or so is really going to loosen those hip flexors up. And don't forget, what you do on one side, you need to do on the other side. So after you hold that for a minute or two, you're just going to switch and do the same thing on the other side. And you do that a couple times a week, and I promise you will start to really loosen up those muscles that get super tight with all the mileage that we're all running. So anyways, feel free to reach out if you have any questions in the comments below the video. Thanks.